Money, pirates cannot take our money, pirates. All I want is money, pirates cannot take our money, pirates. All I want is money, pirates cannot take our.
Here is no longer a sad journey that was done on purpose. Believe the words I say, here is the truth. Let's just pray it never happens to you. You knock on the door, you freeze in peril. You look around and there's nothing available. Panic, you scream, you run in circles. You knock on the door over. You look outside, the car's on the road. The police on the yard waiting in limbo. Your life is changing so fast, looking out the window. In just a moment and things will turn back. Prepare for the next part, it's real sad. Nothing kind of town. They say hello sir, we need your daughter. I tell them no. They say you wanna give her to us now. I tell them no way, go away, never come back. They answer with force and pin you down. They search all the rooms and look around. They find your baby girl. They tell me we got her. Now your family is torn apart, pleading your innocence from the start. Nobody listens, nobody cares. All you're left with is empty stairs. The house is empty, no love to be felt. They grabbed your baby, it's a feeling you never felt. You fight so hard to have her return. All they do is torture, you are feeling like burn. You do what they say, answer the question. They just keep telling you that you need lessons. You're not worthy of being a father. We don't want you to see your daughter. We don't know what you have done, but we'll say you're guilty. This has begun. We're taking your heart, your soul. You'll be alone now. you grow old. You idle away and die. No one will be there to cry. All by yourself, you can't do a thing. No one wants you around. No one believes you did nothing wrong. You gave your best fight. There was nothing you could do. I'll always remember the lonely December who took my heart out for nothing. There was no reason for what was done. No one listened, not one. As I lay dying on this bed, my visions are you running through my head. I'm sorry for nothing. I didn't do enough. I thought about you always. I didn't do enough. One day I'll be with you again, living in a world that you are in. Maybe that time I'll do it right. I'll be able to say goodnight. But for now, this life is over. There will be no more pain. I won't miss you in shame. I don't have to play this game. The unfair life that I was living, it's no memory. Hope you can be forgiven. I had it all once, they took it all away. So good night, sweet princess, pleasant dreams.
Psalm 127:3. Children are a heritage from the Lord, offspring a reward from Him. This suggests children are a precious gift from God to be valued and cared for.
In the United States, a child a minute is taken into DHS, CPS, and so on custody. The reality is their pics are already selected, you just don't know it. Being perfect no longer matters. It's what the adopting families are looking for.
Who is it stealing the children, you ask?
From caseworker to the White House, the buck stops at all levels, just not where it is supposed to be. The services your family needs, we the people have paid for to ensure your reunification. Title 4 says, reunify at all costs. United, we stand means nothing to us when it comes to family values. Children are being ripped away from their families. Parents are reverting to addictive behaviors to cover the pain. The trauma caused by child removal is just being recognized, and the results are atrocious. Termination of parental rights is not healthy for anyone, just profitable for the people enforcing the lie.
It's time Washington listens to the cries of our children, the wails of their mothers, and the rage growing in the fathers. These are our children. Keep your damn hands off them. We are coming to act on the behalf of the children God gave us to protect, and you kidnapped.
In the United States, CPS makes upwards of $3 billion per day on trafficking and selling our children. The corruption may start with the caseworker, but goes through the judicial system, passing the governor through the Senate and into the White House. The entire system has a hand in the business known as CPS.
Our children are stolen every minute of a 24-hour day. They are being robbed of their innocence, their trust, their happiness. As parents, we are isolated and betrayed by a government we trust. States are balancing budgets on kids' lives. Only 12% of the kids taken will be reunified. Title IV funding is being riveted with fraud.
We need to stop CPS and abolish CPS.com is leading the way. Join us.
All right, everybody, welcome to Friday night edition of CPS Victims Hunting Justice. I am your host. This is the CPS Punisher, and we got a beat house. We got a chat right here, which a lot of you have already divulged in. I just want to let everybody know, listen, so Tiff and the Punisher show is on Sundays through Thursdays at 7 o'clock. And then we run this show Monday through Friday. Then we got Vinny's Saturday Night Extravaganza, which is put on hold for a few weeks until he can get his gag thing done. And then we're working on a couple more shows coming up. Don't forget to like, subscribe, do all those things, share, put some comments in the comment thing down here. That helps with us getting our algorithm out there. But I know that all of you are waiting here to hear Mr. Gunner. So let's get Vinny and Gunner out here because, damn, we got people waiting. We got people waiting here to hear the Gunny. We got people waiting here for you, Gunner.
Well, let's see who we can piss off this evening with some knowledge and information.
What we got, Gunner?
Well, we've had a few things. We've got a couple great things that are coming out. We have been contacted by Candace Matthews down in Houston, Texas, a big civil rights proponent that has reached out to us to call her office. We put the call in for that today. They're wanting to actually do some, to kind of team up a little bit, possibly do that, some interviews, share some information, get that message out there. The other thing that we're having to deal with is a lot of people that are filling out the stuff for the FBI or trying to do your federal civil rights case. The easiest way is there's a case law that prevents you from going in or has protected family court systems. That particular case is, I'll find this in here. Once again, I don't want to misspeak. But the Rooker-Feldman case.
Yep.
Now, what the Rooker-Feldman case does is it prevents the federal government from getting involved in your CPS case, which is why it's such a damn mess. So what you have to do is you have to keep your federal civil rights case without talking about family court, whatever, their position, anything. It basically comes down to this person that is a employee or representative or actor for the government, state or federal, it does not matter. They're mentioned things, committed this constitutional rights against me in the capacity of their job. Simple, clean cut. That's what it's about. What people are not understanding, deprivation of rights, when your rights are violated, which is called, the legal term for it is deprivation of rights under the color of law, is a felony. It is a felony offense. The biggest one, too, I did not have a trial by jury, SEC versus Jarsky. And sometimes you have to spell it out for them because understand they're neutral. So explain it to me in your own words. I didn't have a trial by jury under SEC versus Jarsky. It says that a civil court administrative judge in a civil court setting, that is your state judges, have the ability to do these things to you, take your license, find you in contempt of court, and this and that, requires a trial by jury, or it's a Seventh Amendment violation. It says it in that case. So I compare this to get people to understand it's like Roe versus Wade that mentions nothing about abortion.
Right.
But it's how that case law is written in the summation, which is the summation is basically, to summarize it for you guys, is what was the judge's thought process during this court case and how he puts the pieces together.
So basically what you're saying is, hold up. So basically what you're saying is if the judge could issue you any sort of penalty while you were in his courtroom, then this will be followed. You can use this.
It's basically says which every one of these child support and family courts, even your child support, CPS case, everything has to have a trial by jury. This is a retroactive case, which means even if your CPS case was done decades ago, the simple question comes, did you have a trial by jury? Nope. Well, guess what? That's a deprivation of rights under the color of law. You can sue for that. You can sue them, hold them accountable for that. No matter how old or if the judge is retired, or it doesn't matter. You can sue the state over that particular case. Hey, I never received a trial by jury. Why? Because the paperwork for your case will indicate either a jury trial or an administrative trial, which is done by the judge only. The judge does not get to differentiate on your constitutional rights. They don't have a choice. So what that court case was saying is, because those judge has those powers and has been wielding this power unchecked, you need to take it away from them and put it into the hands of the jury, which is what the Constitution guarantees is a due process.
Right.
So you haven't got that? That's a huge one. Now, take that to federal civil court. Now, the reason we're saying do that, get you some money. Yes, and we're telling people it's not going to stop the process of CPS and what they're doing or anything else, okay? You're more than likely possibly going to lose their kids. But when you go into a courtroom and inform them, like one lady, I was kind of educating her. I says, if I was going into the case now knowing what I know, I would come in and say something like this. Your Honor, I would like to address the court or go on the court record, and they can't stop that. I would like to note that my constitutional rights were violated and acts of criminal activity, which these are felonies, has happened to me. I understand I am not getting a fair and impartial hearing, that you will probably deny me a trial by jury. I am not going to assist this court in what it is doing, which is basically committing a crime right now. You may not understand this or what I'm saying, but you will, because I will be filing a federal civil rights violation on each and every person, such as entry into my home with no warrant. Regardless of what you say, federal case law says no. Questioning my children or myself on my private property, violation of the Fourth Amendment, that's under seizure. The fact that you didn't take and set a jury trial from the beginning, you can trap a judge. Ask them the questions. Go through that case that I was telling you. It's SEC versus Jarsky. Look in the summation. It's all laid out of asking the court, do you have the power to do this? Do you have the power to do that? Yes, yes, yes. Okay, well, I'd like a trial by jury. I'm not giving you a trial by jury. Right then and there, Your Honor, I'd like to go on the court record that you have just committed a felony and deprivation of rights under the color of law, and you are no longer able to adjudicate this case because of what you've done. You've denied my right to jury under SEC versus Jarsky. Now, a lot of them are not up on this because they don't keep up with federal case law. Until you start hammering them, and the power I say this has is this will remove, because if you are a judge or a magistrate and you are convicted, or let's put it this way, fined to where the state has to pay those dues for constitutional rights violations in a federal courtroom, and you go across the street to the FBI saying, hey, I just won my civil rights case, I want to press criminal charges. They have to follow up with that and file criminal charges. They can never adjudicate another case in their life. Okay? They're removed from the bench. Now, what a lot of people don't know, when a judge or a magistrate is guilty of this and arrested, every case they've ever presided over their entire career, all you have to do is file the paperwork in state court to have it overturned due to the fact of the corruption that was found.
Wow.
That's the history of it. So even after you've done those things, hey, you've won your civil rights case. Well, at the same time, you're going to talk to the FBI. You can then file with your own state's Supreme Court under an appeal, because under the new evidence statute that's there, saying, hey, this particular case goes under the fact that this person had committed a crime in the midst of doing the hearing. It nullifies the hearing. Right. If you have deprivation of rights and due process, that whole case is thrown out just on that alone. Mm-hmm. So it's gone. You can even ask the state to expunge your record and return your children immediately from that point. Criminal activity has happened. And that's taking out their judges. What we're trying to do this a particular way is you're turning the judicial system that has kissed CPS's ass for decades now and takes those judges and magistrates away, because it gets around real fast. Hey, I lost my job. Hey, I lost my job. Hey, I lost my job. In a whole county, all of a sudden they're all gone. They have to be replaced. Oh, trust me, scuttlebutt gets around, and they're going to find out why those judges got removed. Then they're going to come back and you do enough cases to where it's starting to cost them some money. All of a sudden the state's going to come back and go, oh, crap, we better take and let everybody know you need to have a jury trial. Well, then that takes them getting the free extra money out of their hands. You know how much money they make on this crap?
Oh,
let alone the second part where we get them on RICO. There's a bigger picture to this, but we have to take it one step at a time. So now you have a case that's been adjudicated under fraud, which removes the judge and anybody that violated your constitutional rights. They're all now criminals. You've removed the judge. You got your kids back home. Now, under that criminal act, now your case is dismissed and it's not about state thing. They're not interfering with a state case. So what it's going to end up doing is then you go after everybody that did the criminal activity that you turn in for the criminal activity, CPS caseworker, the CPS attorney, all these other people. Why? Because all those people participated are called co-conspirators to a felony act. They now no longer have jobs. They can't practice law. They can't. And here's the best part. Oh, I'm about to kill myself right here. This one just cracks me up when I talk to a constitutional professor. He goes, you know what else that does? Especially if the case is about children. That's a crime involving a child.
Right.
When you take and press those charges, that means the multiplier effect happens. So if you're given, I think it's 3 to 5 times, depending on what state it is. Now, all of a sudden, they have a charge that they can never deal with children, and it charges all the judges and magistrates that you've now committed this crime and you've put your children in danger by endangering the company. Guess who CPS then goes after? The judges and magistrates, kids and families. Mm-hmm. They turn on them. Why? Because they are shutting down with the other people. They're going to go after them. And now they have a legitimate claim. Why? You've committed a criminal act. Those are legitimate reasons to come in. If you have a under investigation of this and that, that is a citable thing to remove your children from you, especially when your crime involved children.
Right.
You turn the tables on them. You use their own system against them is what you're doing. And that's what we're paying. That's why we tell people were sending me their letters, family or CPS and all this other stuff crap in there. It's simple. It's just about my constitutional rights were violated and how they were violated by what person. Leave your damn case on. They go, well, oh, they're not held accountable and on. No. Now, if you've done the federal civil court against them for deprivation of rights under the color of law, which that will slide past Rooker-Feldman because it's a constitutional issue.
Right.
It's not a family court issue. See, this is where you play their game and you beat them at it. You then take them to court for that, press charges against them in federal with the feds. Now they're under that. You've got your kids back. You filed your paperwork. You're clean from the state. Now you use all that other evidence that you had against them on round 2 in federal civil court. You can now go back and then use all of that evidence, not the fact of anything, the deprivation of rights, because you've already got that against them, but you charge them with all the other charges, including the misdemeanors, the kidnapping, the, coercion to contract, and all these other different things, forge, all these different things that go into it. That's when you go after them personally. Well, that's going to turn the Bar Association, very powerful organization, against Child Protective Services. You left us hanging in the dry, and you got us messed up because we were passing these through left and right under your word, and now we've tore these. Now it's costing me. So all these high-priced lawyers that have, or judges and magistrates have the nice cars, the nice houses, guess what? You sue them for round 2. That's for all their personal assets, baby. Now you're broke on top of your retirement fund. Here's the kicker: in most states, after you get all that stuff done, one parent or the other, depending on the situation, will more than likely go through child support court. Now, most of you don't know, but part of that administrative fee that the state collects when they get their part goes towards a slush fund for all the judges and magistrates in that county. You're paying their retirement fund when you're paying into that child support. They are profiting from adjudicating your case and convicting you. You can now put that on the judge. Hey, you charged me child support. You can then go after the state child support agency for fraud. Now, here's another one I learned. See, as a former business owner, they take, and you have this thing called the Fair Credit Reporting Act. And if you have had child support at any time, until you go to court and you agree to go under their contract, if you want, you don't have to agree, because understand, they're doing it under administration. When you go for child support court and they wear the robes and everything else, they're not supposed to. What they're doing is a legal form of mediation, and the judge or magistrate is doing it in its administrative capacity, not its judicial, to mediate between you and a state agency. And it's only done by contract. If you don't agree to the contract, nor can they force you into the contract, you don't have to pay anything. I don't agree. This is coercion to contract. If I want to deal with a private family issue and I don't want you involved, I don't have to. Even if one parent petitions, it's like turning around and saying, you hired a third-party person to come in here to negotiate your case for you. And it just so happens to be the state. But then they use the power of the state to abuse that. Now you can sue child support. Now imagine you're getting into their funds and child support funds and everything else to where you start bankrupting those systems. Because guys, how many cases a year does CPS deal with?
Yeah.
If we all start filing this way and doing it this way, this also gives us a chance. I'm going to give you a little secret. I didn't tell you this. I'm going to break it here. Here's the fun one. I'm going to piss you off today.
Yes,
we
sir.
can overturn Rooker versus Feldman, because then we can prove in a court of law with all of your cases and why we're trying to help and coordinate some of this stuff to go before the Supreme Court, SCOTUS, and overturn Rooker Feldman due to the fact that they have created a criminal enterprise off of the fact of that case by no oversight from the federal courts, and argue it and have enough evidence to throw it out. So now when they start screwing up in the state with your kids and everything else, you don't have to wait and jump through their bullshit hoops. I'm jumping straight to federal court, and then I'm going to hold you accountable. How about them apples? For all the illegal shit you did. You know why? Because you're versing the state, and the state can't hear a case in its own. It automatically qualifies you for then federal case. because you're going against the state. See how this works? So
The house
we
of
have been
cards,
dealing
man.
with attorneys and constitutional professors and everything else. You've just got to do it. And yes, SEC versus Jarsky, it just came out June of this year. But as soon as it was filed and done, it's 100% legal and enforceable.
Right.
There is no time period. If you bring it up in a case, that's the point of you expect them to know all this other stuff. They don't. It's what you present. So you have to have a good argument or case law that backs up your point. So if you do case law, they have to then, debunk your case law with something else very similar. Yes, matter of fact, we have had several cases actually in South Carolina and other places that they have gone to some judges. I'm looking at some of the comments here, Samantha. Yes, we had a kid that they had this one woman's kids. She brought in the SEC versus Jarsky. They were towards the middle of their case. And she told the judge that I was removing you and charging you with a felony. And here's the case law because you answered those questions and trapped the judge to answer the questions and had somebody there recording it because it was on Zoom. So she recorded, she goes, I'm turning this over to the FBI and I'm turning this over to the Bar Association and to the Judicial Review Board. You just committed a felony of deprivation of rights under the color of law. You have to answer for that, which is an immediate removal of the judge. I got you tooth and nail. You just answered the questions. You had the ability to do that. This case law says I should have had a trial by jury, and we're already in this, say, 6-8 months. Now, you will release my children now. Otherwise, you will serve even severe penalties of advanced kidnapping and everything else on top of it. And it's just going to get worse because you will have a trial by jury. What do you think those parents and grandparents are going to think that you did what? Yeah, that was South Carolina. South Carolina's one case. We've had a case in Georgia. We've had a case in Oklahoma that has turned this out. They are actually paying attention. Other judges don't care, don't this and that. Fine, hold them accountable. Take them, rob them blind. So you guys, here's the other thing. Yes, it did mention, Jarsky did mention common law, but it says in there, you have to read between the lines and how that does. It's the same way that they did. That's why I compared it to Roe versus Wade to deal with abortion. It's how it's formed. It can deal with common law. He can address several things in there, but it's not a one size fits all narrow thing. Well, that has to do with SECs and trades and this. Read between the lines. That's how they get this stuff through and how they apply case law. It's how they do it. So you got to read in there. So we've had several of these come up to where judges are starting to go, hold on, name them, please. No, we do not discuss anybody else's things. That's a privacy thing. I'm sorry, but that does not happen. We do this for educational purposes. We do not share anybody's information. Anybody that shares stuff with us, it stays with us or it goes directly to the FBI or once again, it'll go into the United States military CID if you're a veteran, as well as some of the other cases collectively. So this is done eyes only type things.
So basically what we need though is we just need everybody in each state to do this at least once. And then everybody else can follow.
Start doing it, you pass the word. Now here's the thing. When they realize you have something, they're going to come at you and you may be tired. You got to understand the whole specialty of CPS is psychological warfare.
Of course it is.
Now, every bit of it is psychological warfare. My wife has a degree in psychology and early childhood development. She went through their classes. She went through all that stuff. Because of the circumstances with her children being special needs, she felt her skill set was better used in the home and dealing with her home life at first, first and foremost over anything else. So she used what she had and applied it to raising her children, even teaching them gaslighting and circles and who you trust and who you don't trust and body autonomy parts according to the National Pediatric Society to make sure that they use the words when your kids understand things. We don't call a penis and a vagina, anything else, your little hoo-ha or anything else you want to call it. Use the medical terminology. Why? It tends to take and disrupt anybody that is attacking the child, because those are legal terms as well. So those type of things change some of the brain chemistry with a lot of things. There's vast studies done on this. So like I said, you're more than welcome. Anything I say, please, I challenge every one of you, do your own damn research. And you're going to find the same thing, but make sure it's not Google, a reputable source, okay?
Right.
From the Journal of Medicine or the Pediatric Society or some of the different ones, the Psychological Society. You've got to understand now the government's even getting involved in the psychological warfare, that things are approved by the U.S. government, even at the top of the little webpage, approved by the United States government. It's there, even though those ways of thinking are so backwards and doesn't apply to everybody. See, you can't, there's the thing, psychology is a soft science. No two people are alike. Let me give you an example. You could have somebody that is a serial murderer that has certain patterns or this and this and this and that they do. Hey, we could chart that you're a serial murderer. No, because there's the same people with the same patterns that end up being very successful in the business world. See how the similarities go, but they're not the same? The same thing with soldiers. I mean, if you've ever, had people that have served, you have two people that have the same circumstances, they come out different. There was one, and Herbert's probably seen this one. This one's funny. 3 different men in 3 different positions. And it was all 3 men of color. One was an attorney, one was a defendant, and the other one was a police officer. It goes about your choices. No matter what color your skin is, no matter what religion, creed, race, or anything, it is about your choices. They could all be raised in the same area. That was the point of that particular thing. And I don't know, Herbert, have you seen that one?
I've heard the theory.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's well known in the community. We all came from the bad side of the tracks. One became a cop, one became a lawyer, and the other became a thug. It doesn't matter the color of your skin. Why? Because there's white people out there doing it. There's Chinese mafia. Right. There's all sorts of different things out there in every neighborhood. Guys, we're all in this together. The whole thing of this, I'm going to call it like it is. It's bullshit. It's division.
Yeah.
Racism and a division of race and everything else is different. You're all human. You're all different. You all have different ethics. You have different things to do. The point of America was to be a melting pot, was that under the heat of everything we went through, that all the impurities would come to the top and scrape it off like a soup, or like, something that you boil or something like that, some kind of stews or other things, the impurities or the fats or anything else that you didn't want. Scrape it off the top, and what was left in the pot was the best of the best. Mm-hmm. That was the concept of our country. But as far as you've got people taking control of things like the Department of Education. Now, listen, I grew up inner city, okay, South Side, Chicagoland area. So when they talk about the poor neighborhoods and this and that they got less of an education, I can tell you that's 100% true. Because I went to school with every race, color, ethnic, religion, whatever it didn't matter. We all got along. So long as you, had honor and integrity, and you were, trying to do your best, we helped each other out. We all got along. We were all friends. We didn't care. But don't make your work any hard. Don't be lazy and put it on there. I mean, that's a huge thing. Well, Chris is hot to trot. What's Chris got going here? I don't use it as a source. Okay, right. Me too. What did I miss there, Punisher, about Chris? I'm getting her here. I'm just trying to scroll through this stuff.
Let's go back here to see.
Hey, guys, we're just trying to fit as much information as we can in the short amount of time that we have. Where I'm doing my best, I'm learning on this platform. Hey, Chris is from Chi-Town too. Awesome. Good food, great pizza, especially tastes of Chicago and Grant Park, baby. Good stuff. Yes, it's definitely a Midwest. Guys, a lot of this that's why we're trying to get people together, get the word out, follow the path, because what it does is it shuts it down. It bankrupts them. It turns it on itself, which is what we need. It's the only way we can win is together. One person can't do that.
What are some of the case laws? That's what Chris was wondering. What are some, when she said name that, please, name them, please. I don't think she was talking about the people themselves. You had mentioned that there were some other case laws that you could go to the judge with that supported what you were saying.
Okay.
So I think that's what she was
Well,
asking.
if you go to your download, and I know, and you and I got to get together on that, Punisher, and get together. Dallas just released on his website the same evidence that we have for sharing that stuff. You have SEC versus Jarsky. You have the Chevron indifference. Let me look through here. I'm looking through some of my stuff here for that. Is a great question, but we posted all on that link to use that against to use it against them. And that's kind of the point of this. Let's see if I can find it. And there's, like I said, there's tons of it. But the important ones is, let's see if I can find it here. This initial, and you'll have to bear with me here, guys. Go ahead and pick up a conversation here while I do a little bit of research, if you don't care, and spread it around.
What do you, oh shoot, we can't ask you questions about that, can we, Vinny?
About what?
But we can't. I was going to ask you about the color of law stuff because Vinny's a big proponent of the color of law, but we're not allowed to talk about that because he's been gagged. So
I can talk about constitutional stuff.
Right. Well, I mean, what did you? How do you feel about what Gunnar said in the color of law? The way that he exposed it, the way that he's just said it, opposed to the way that you know of things.
I mean, it's a similarity to what I have right now. I can't really discuss the case, but
Right.
to the extent of what we've found, yeah, it's definitely a violation under color of law. And it does state in there that it is also a cease and desist order. Not only is it a cease and desist order, but it also takes away their immunities.
Well, constitutional rights violation is an immediate removal of their any kind of immunity.
Yep, especially to due process of law. Yep.
So does that mean that if you serve them under the color of law, that immediately, or does that have to be adjudicated on, or does that mean immediately that this is?
You gotta have a copy of it, like I do, and you have to have it served to them, so they have to sign for it.
And then what? Certified, they have so many days to respond.
Yep. And if they don't respond, that stands because it never goes away.
And there's a way to circumvent that too. You can actually take your case law number and go file it with the clerk's office and attach it so it can be referred to at any time with that and already entered under a case law. And if they refuse to give it to the clerk, or the clerk refuses to receive it, that's also a felony against the clerk.
Yep.
Vinny, you want to explain to them how to do that? How do you go through the process of doing that? Because Mr. Teal wants to know how they do that.
You have to get the printout. You can go online to any form and look up free forms, violation under color of law. It's called the COL, and you can put it in Adobe and print it out to a printer. It doesn't matter where you are. You could print it out like at a fax place that does fax or has a printer. Even your local library, you could hook it up to your local library and print it out.
Now, one thing I'll add to that is make sure that you give them a copy and make sure that it is notarized and signed by a legal notary, because that also makes that a legal document. Yep. So make sure that there's a lot of power in your notary.
Yep. That's why mine have always been signed by a notary.
Mm-hmm.
And then you ship it off to them, or you have them certified to serve the sheriff, serve it to them, or someone, or can you serve it to them?
Certified mail, so they have to sign for it.
You can actually have it delivered almost like a warrant or anything else to the clerk's office or anything else, and actually serve them that right there as being documents. So you go down to the court clerk's office, get it signed, have it entered, everything else, and ask them for a copy to give that you're going to walk it up to the judge, or you make it responsible of this and that, of making sure that they have a copy to the judge. That's how that. There's a couple of different ways, and each one's a little bit different. It depends on your state
I'll see if I
laws and
can get you the
procedures.
link, William.
Yeah.
I mean, is
So,
that a good place to start for all of this, though? I mean, is that a good way to begin? Like, what's the beginning of this process for people that are listening? What is the first step, Gunner? Like like a
file
3-year-old
your
here.
federal civil rights violation case and get it on there. As
Okay.
soon as you get it done with a federal attorney and you get that filed with a civil rights attorney, just don't tell them anything about family court. As soon as you do, you go on, they ain't gonna touch it. I need to file a civil rights violation. Doesn't matter who it is. It's a state employee. It's as simple
Right.
as that. And you keep it cut and dry. And they're going to say, well, is that? No, it doesn't matter. Deprivation of rights under the color of law, it doesn't matter how it happened. Or in the courts, it says you can't say anything. Yes, actually, Ashley, correct. We've had that conversation a couple times. Leave the family law out of it. That's why I kept saying stay in your lane.
Right.
Stay in that lane of civil rights violations. Regardless of why they were there, this person, hey, CPS came into my house to come and do this and that. This person entered my house and questioned me on private property in the duties that he was paid to do as a civil employee or state or government representative. Bottom line, done. Forget the whole thing of everything else. The whole point of this is to manipulate you emotionally to where you can't think. I had this conversation with somebody today. I says, you ever heard the term head on a swivel? Okay. Head on a swivel means even though everything's coming, everything else, pay attention to it, but keep your course. Be wary of everything that's going on for dangers and everything, but watch your course. Still move forward. Don't get so distracted with what's going on over here if you're not moving forward. And that's the psychological warfare game they do, is the distraction. I'm going to gaslight, lie, and soak up as much as your time to where you're not able to think. They want you to play checkers, play chess. See, you know, and so people that understand that term, there's a reason. Play chess with them. That's why you win so much, is you think they're forcing you onto a checkers board. The whole time they play checkers, let them play checkers. Because as soon as I take you into this court and I get you and I get your money and then I file criminal charges against you, you're done. Now you can announce that to the court. I have filed a federal civil rights violation against all of you. So please, I'm just putting that on note for the court. Put it on the record for the court. You're on notice. You want to continue down this thing. You've already got these things, and these are felony offenses, and I will be pressing criminal charges. What you do here to me and today is up to you. It's out of my hands, because that's it. You're going to do what you want to do, no matter how much I pay somebody or how much I'm not begging for my fucking rights here. Let's make that real fucking clear. But I'm going to hold you accountable to your position and that oath and everything else you had, let alone that. You can kiss my ass. You want to take my kids? It's going to cost you more. You know why? Because then they're going to come get your kids. Then they're going to come get this. It sucks when it's turned on you because you've got no authority. You're not a judge anymore. I'm going to strip you of that. What are you going to do? Because you've got no effect. And if you try to intimidate me now, we're going to add a charge to you if you start pulling bullshit. That's called intimidating a federal witness.
Yep.
Uh-oh. You're using the state case to do this. No, you did this case that had to do with civil rights. Awesome. Chris got her daughter back. Good job.
Yeah, that's the good stuff. That's the stuff that makes it worth it. You know, you hear a win is a win for everybody. It really is.
Yes.
You know, this is that thing that you can't be selfish about it. You know, like if good happens to you, then everybody shares it. Don't get the, what is they call that? The winner's grief, or the whatever they call that. The winner's, you know, don't feel bad about getting your kid back. You share that with everybody, because the victory for one person is a victory for everybody in this. You know, it gives everybody that hope, and they keep fighting, because there's so little stuff that happens good when you're in these cases. Like, you don't get any attaboys in this, you know, like you don't get any small victories. You get nothing. You get your kids taken and screw you, have a good day. You know, you don't ever get anything. So to hear things like that, people like Chris say they got their kids back, it's awesome, you know, and people that get these little victories need to announce them. So that way they make everybody else feel that hope again. Because it's real easy to go down that dark, dark hole, put yourself in the back room somewhere, lock yourself up, never be heard from again.
Listen,
Darren, I just sent you the link to it. I don't know if you can get it to post. I tried to get it to post, but it wouldn't.
Okay.
maybe put it in the private chat, and then Punisher can get it up on the bottom of the screen for everybody. That might help you out there.
Of course you would say that. That means I have to log in on my phone.
Well, you know, listen, guys, this is one, we are doing something that has never been done before, but we have now found a way to do it. It's time to end it. One of the movements of this thing since I've come out, everybody says, I can't believe you did this. I can't believe you found it. Now, I'll tell you one thing you can use in your case is go to the link that you can go on my TikTok under Gunner 1911 and copy and paste. It leads you to a drive. There is hard evidence of treason and sedition under every state, and if you're in federal court, you can use
that
this
one.
You got that one?
That's my song one, Darren. That's the song that I wrote.
Oh, well, there's Vinny's song, everybody. I thought that's what you just sent me.
There you go.
Hold on.
Song of the show. So, Darren, you can take and use what we have and actually put it in federal court and actually get more out of it, because you can prove that the state is paying and training its people with your tax dollars to violate constitutional rights, because we have it all laid out for you.
Mm-hmm. Just get it done.
And like I said, we're working with a couple other attorneys, some paralegal, and some other people that are out there. Listen, we're looking towards, somebody has pointed this out to me that, and I'm gonna pop it right here, and you're gonna love it, because we are actually working on forming the largest class action lawsuit in American history, to where we will take out every single state.
No, Josie, we haven't heard from you.
So the largest, we're going to put up the largest class action suit.
But a class action suit that we're getting ready to form, we're working on getting everything together, but it will hold Social Security Administration for mismanagement of funds for paying things out, as well as the Department of Human Services, Child Services Division federally, hold them accountable in court, because they have not prevented all 50 states from committing treason and sedition. This is under your purview. One, for them, it's policy and procedure that should have been checked by the Department of Human Services Children's Division federally. They're now liable because that was their oversight. Social Security gets in trouble because they were paying out federal Title IV funds for somebody that was actively committing felonies.
But what is that class action suit going to do to everybody that's trying to independently go after them for these same things?
Not a damn thing, other than the fact that it puts basically the federal government and everybody else on notice of, you screwed up and we got you. Now here's the thing.
Good.
You can file your own independent case as you want, or we will have people, when it comes that time, to join that class action lawsuit, which then part of the monies, like anything else, would be set aside and paid out at a certain amount. And then, when it goes over several people. But some of the numbers that were being ran was $500 trillion.
Well, that sounds like the Barbara Stone dollars that she was talking.
Hey,
you're talking about exposing it 100%. And there's the thing that they said, you don't realize what you have here. When some of the attorneys and some of the professors go, that includes everybody that was supposed to be watching them and monitoring them.
Oh, wow.
You can go after the governors of each state, because they are ultimately responsible for each state.
Yeah, right there. That's the source. That's the beginning of all this. That's the heads of all the evil. You got the federal government that gave them this money to each state, and that governor's supposed to be the overseer of where this money's going. And
every bit of it, let alone they were begging for more money, and they were giving it to them and this and that to commit more felonies. Listen, we've even found out that they were doing national training sessions from an outside source or teaching agency. There's like one or two of them out there that train both cops and CPS workers. And one of their classes was how to gain entry with a difficult person and or parent. That's called motherfucking coercion, bitch.
Yeah.
To entry. And you're teaching it? That's a felony. You're teaching them how to commit a felony. They literally printed it in one of the states thing. If you look through the evidence, and I forget which state it was, I want to say possibly one of the Dakotas, Don't quote me on that, but if you go through the paperwork and read it, that's a lot of hours I put into that damn thing. But when you read it, you just go, holy crap. They actually are traveling across the country for training seminars, giving them all this free stuff and this, that, and then having a class on how to coerce their way into the home. What is wrong with these people? And they think it's okay. And listen, it's not. Listen, I'm going to correct one thing right now. It's not about the thin blue line or some of the other things. It's about their training. Their supervisors and everybody else. Everybody says, well, the FBI is this and that. Did you know that the FBI doesn't move usually without direct coordination from the Department of Justice? So why is the FBI being blamed for something? The Department of Justice is basically the person they answer to. Wow. That's called accountability. Not my fault. And then you got the FBI guys over here going, how's it my fault? I'm doing what they tell me to do. Then you got people that are in those positions in the Department of Justice or in certain things that we ain't gonna do this, this, and that. If you don't fucking prosecute somebody for criminal action, after you've won a civil case, it's open and shut, especially for deprivation of rights, you can now sue the U.S. Attorney's Office for not prosecuting a case. See, once you're the voice, see, here's the issue. They single you out, and when you get done with CPS and everything else, and if you've dealt with them, how alone do you feel?
That's it, man.
Your wife, maybe if you survive, you're on an island. You're on an island. That's what they want. They don't want us coming together, comparing our stories, and teaming up against them. It's like, the ants and the grasshoppers. When they take and they realize we're coming after them, not with, like an overthrow of a militia or anything else, but using the same system to hold them accountable. And everybody says, well, I don't have money. I don't have money. And it comes up to where you guys come together that don't have a lot of money, and you draw up what money you can, and you go for your own small class action lawsuit. And I think it's up to 25, I think is the number. Get 25 people that can come up enough to do a small class action for just you and your people. They can file it that way.
Yep, that's it. Like everybody, you need to put your heads together and find. No one's going to do this for you. We need to find ways to come up with it. Like you just said, like come up with a group of you guys. We'll come up with a fund here. Whatever you can do, get it done though. Don't do nothing, because if you do nothing, then this is just going to float on by and figure out a way to close this gap that they've figured out that they can use right now, and then it'll be over, and then that'll be that. You need to blow these holes open when you have the chance to blow them open, because it's only a matter of time before they find them and then they shut them.
Elizabeth, okay, what you're talking about, okay, let me clarify something here. There's no laws in the United States. Civil court doesn't deal, they deal with contracts, they deal with civil things and everything else and stuff like that that's not there. Breaking the law or anything else, those are criminal. So there is a divide in the court systems between civil and criminal. No, there's nothing civilly that has to deal with death that deals with that. But high crimes such as treason and sedition under the Constitution, if determined, understand, if you have a charge of treason as found by, say, the federal investigation and everything else, let me explain something. They're not going to see a court on U.S. soil. They're not. Because any acts of treason is only held in a military tribunal and cannot happen on U.S. soil. That is the Constitution. So you're talking about a nice, possibly one-way ride to Gitmo.
Yeah. I think
there you go, guys. There's the link right there. I just put it in.
What I think that they were talking about there, Gunner, is the comparison of the civil death penalty is kind of what they do when they take away your parental rights. That's what it's called, is the civil, it's the equivalent to the death penalty. I think that's kind of where they're going with that whole thing. And it is, like when they take you, like it's a big joke. Well, it's not really a joke, but it's crazy how a death penalty, someone on death row has how many times to appeal and do all this, but yet they'll come right in, they'll swoop down, take your kids, TPR you, game over, goodbye. You know, like you get a one appeal maybe, and if you don't have
I
this
think
to stay in
the
the fight, then
proper
you're done.
terminology for that then would be a psychological or mental and or spiritual death rather than a physical death. Let's clarify that communication then a little bit more. Um, and understand, I do this all the time, my wife too. I get what you're saying, but when you use it in that particular thing, I get we're reading between the lines, Punisher. But sometimes, listen, guys, communication is so important. We have got to work better on communicating with each other to where ask the questions,
You're welcome,
give me
Sam.
some answers, those type of things, because sometimes people can take it literally. And to be honest, I get what she was doing, Punisher, but I did that to make a point.
Right
You
on.
got to watch what you put out there and what you put in print because they're not getting emotion or your point of view, what's in your head.
Right.
You have to get properly down on paper, including your point of view or your perspective. So
Yep.
when you're writing these things, even your emotions or anything else, make sure it's very clear and accurate and articulated properly. It's so important, especially in the legal system.
Right. No, definitely. And that's the other thing that they're doing to the kids in schools now. They're putting it so, like people are texting now. There's no emotion in texting. Like people misinterpret texts all the time. I can say one thing 5 different ways, and that's not what I meant. Like it's not, but people don't get it. Like, and they're just doing that, and they're stripping everybody away. They're making everybody dumb, is what they're doing.
You went from interpersonal contact. Let's go through the history because I love the history.
Yeah.
Interpersonal communication, face to face, this and that. Then you went to the telephone. Then you went to let me page you to where we can talk over the telephone, a different thing. Now then you had texting, then you had IMing and, some of the different things, even when you're doing, and a little bit better is possibly Snapchat. If it's live view, if you can show your circumstances and maybe explain it a little bit more. But the thing is, it's never the same as one human sitting in front of another human, understanding body language. And see, this is what's broken down in our relationships, our marriages, our family. Guys, we don't know how to communicate anymore because they've done that to us. You do realize that. If you just look at the history, you look at how your government officials and representatives and corporations have done everything along the way to separate us on race, as far as breakdown in communication, as far as our own food to where we're poisoning ourselves and we're loving every bit of it. I mean, you see a lot of people, and I hate to say that, when you have low income areas, the first thing that you go for, it's not the fresh vegetables or this or this or that. It's the Little Debbie snack cakes and this and that and all the poison in foods and vegetable oils and everything else that's there. And there's no oversight because the USDA has said, and the Food and Drug Administration says, these are good, including starches. Say the food pyramid. They're even coming out with that stuff there. Hey, the food pyramid, you need more starches.
Yeah.
Man, it blew my mind. Listen, I learned something the other day, and I love learning something new every day. Do you know you can get the starch out of a potato by double cooking it and make it healthier? You can take a potato, cook it, boil it, whatever it may be, let it cool down, soak it in some cold water, this and that, and pull that stuff out and cook it again or reheat it, and it removes all the starches to where it becomes nothing but healthy and proteins and vitamins and minerals without losing it. I was like, wait, what? So I went down that rabbit hole. I love rabbit holes, as you can tell.
Yes.
I get in a lot of trouble with them, but it pisses people off when you have that. Here's the thing. Why do you need a college degree?
To show people you're educated.
You're educated.
Yeah.
What does that
Big
have
deal.
anything to do with you reading the same books and being taught how to do decisive or critical thinking, which that's not taught in school anymore?
Nope.
That you can go to a library and read the same books at your own pace and do the same thing. Now, this is the thing that everybody's facing right now, and this one sucks. And I'm going to pose this question. We got 4 people on the panel, okay? 4 of us. Would you hire somebody that had a college degree, fresh out of college with a degree, and you had one position to fill? Would you hire that person, or the person that's been doing it for 20 years with no degree? Which one? Let's go around here. Which one's, guys out there on your post there, which one would you hire?
Right. I'm going with the man with the 20 years of service, man. That's it. You got to go with the one that has the experience. That's it. The hell with the degree.
That's around. Come on, let's go. Next. How about you? Hey.
Yeah, nope. I'd have to go with the person that served for 20 years.
Herbert.
Vice the other one.
The person that has exhibited the experience of doing the job.
That's it.
You see the difference when it comes to the real world versus that piece of paper?
Yep.
I don't have to have somebody say I was educated. I've been doing it.
Right. The proof's in the pudding. That old saying.
You know, there's one good saying it's just kind of, I've heard it. Somebody told it to me probably about a decade ago, and it stuck with me so much, but I couldn't get past it. And it was this saying: a person with an experience is never at the mercy of a man or a person with an argument. I want you to just think about that just for a minute. A person with an experience is never at the mercy of a person with an argument.
Yeah.
I've experienced it. You can't take that from me. That also goes for your court systems. Why? Because that's called a first-hand knowledge or first-hand experience. Even the courts recognize it. You can argue it all day, but you can't change what I've seen or experienced.
Right.
And for some reason, that just stuck with me so much, is why people become so centered on things, because of those experiences. Everything everybody's gone through that's sitting here, people that are watching this podcast, nobody can ever take that experience that you have gone through away from you, ever.
Right.
Ever. You can have 1,000 people that can turn around and argue with you and turn around and say, well, if you did something, you must have done something wrong, this and that. Were you there? Do you know my circumstances? I'm not going to listen to no bullshit, because you don't know what you're talking about.
Right.
You ever had this happen? You ever had your kids yanked out from you? Somebody break into your house? Literally break into your house, no warrant or nothing, over an anonymous thing? Why was it anonymous? Because it was more profitable. Because if you do it for a police report, it's called a false police report. That's a misdemeanor.
That's accountability. That's what that is.
But it didn't make as much money. You see how they have petitioned the courts, or not just the courts, but they petitioned the lawmakers to allow this stuff to happen. Here, pass this over here. It's better for the children. It's better for the children. It's for the safety of the children, and this and that. No, it's not.
Right.
It's an easier way for you to violate my constitutional rights and come in. Get the fuck out.
You're going to take my kids and put them in a dangerous situation. That's what you're going to do. That's the way that the proof is going right now. That's a whole nother story.
Listen, there's another story that just came out, and you guys may have seen it, and I'm going to share this just briefly. A guy had a CPS worker come in and try and take his kids, and he stabbed them to death. Their family reached out to me and says, listen, I know you've been saying all this. How do we get them out of this and that? I said, it's real simple. Did they have a warrant? No. What state are you in? Okay. Go under policies and procedures. When there's an emergency, you can look it up yourself. The policies and procedures for CPS, if there's an emergency, save none unless they bring a cop with them, is to back out completely, safely, to get to their own safety and call law enforcement because there's an emergency. If that call never happened and there was no warrant or a court order, they're fucked.
Right. That's
they got to let him go. Will he stand trial? Yeah. Will he get off on it? Yeah.
Yep.
Why? Because the Constitution. It doesn't matter if they work for the state or not. He can appeal that right up to a federal court and go, I was defending my home. And especially if that state has a no retreat castle doctrine, you're screwed.
Yeah.
Show me the warrant. Show me the court order.
I'm not condoning that, but I have a feeling that we're going to start seeing a lot more than that. We're going to see that a lot more happening.
People are starting to wake up to what their rights are and staying out of their damn home. Yeah. And let alone that's the reason they want the Second Amendment done. They want to take and come steal your children without any threat.
That is the basis behind all of this.
Yes. Did you know they're running an illegal gun registry on top of it?
The person that entered the home that got stabbed, did he break into the house? Did he force himself into the house? Or was he let in?
He's the CP. Hold on. Let's clarify this, Herbert. Federal case law says this specifically, and that's in, once again, I'll get down back to that case law here in a minute for you guys. We got a little distracted. The specific case law that I'm going to take in, we'll say we're going to read this off. In Doe et al. Versus Heck et al., case number 01-3648, 2003, U.S. Appellate Court, Lexus 7144. Will affect the manner in which law enforcement and child protective services investigations of alleged child abuse or neglect are conducted. This is one of the documents we have up there. The decision of the Seventh Circuit Court of Appeals found that this practice, i.e. no prior consent interview of a child, will ordinarily constitute a clear violation of constitutional rights of parents under the 4th and 14th Amendments of the Constitution. According to the court, the interviewed of child constitutes a search and seizure, and when conducted on private property without consent, a warrant, probate cause, or extenuating circumstances. Notice it doesn't say permission. If you go through that particular document we sent, it clarifies that anything other than that extenuating circumstance, an emergency, and there's protocols and ways to find it even within their own policies and procedures to document that they take, and they don't have that, or they don't have a court order or a warrant to come in, that judge says everything else is coercion, and it goes down to intent. Did you call CPS to come into your home? No. They got that's coercion to enter. That's coercion to enter, and it's illegal. They'll all the time, well, they gave me permission to come in. Well, according to this case law, you can't come in even if I did give you permission, motherfucker, because it says the only way that you can enter is with an emergency, or you have to have a warrant or court order. If you have none of those, you're nothing more than a common criminal coming into my house, no matter who you work for. Yeah. That sheds a whole lot of light on a whole lot of entry into homes, as that case has never been overturned.
That individual was allowed to come in the house by the homeowner. Am I correct?
There was no description on what was allowed or was not allowed in that particular case. It was just mentioned that a CPS worker came into the home, and when came into the home, and whatever happened between the two on the brief of the story was the fact that he had entered the home or coerced his way into the home, and the father didn't like it and asked him to leave, and he said he had a right to be there, and was basically, I can't go into details too much about things that were disclosed because it's an ongoing investigation and case. But basically the summarization is the CPS worker either coerced his way in or pushed his way in. And some states actually have it printed that they have a right to enter your home with no warrant. Tennessee's one of them. Tennessee says in there they have the right to come into your home to interview your child, and it doesn't need your consent. That clearly goes through.
I understand that they don't need your consent if they feel that the child is in imminent danger. They can break a wall down.
Okay.
They can go through the windows. They can take the roof off the house and come in.
Okay, but what is
if the child is deemed to be in imminent danger?
Now, you want me to tell you
we can argue that
how they're supposed to document that? Because this has to be documented if it's an emergency or imminent danger.
We could argue imminent danger though, because if you read under what imminent danger actually is, there's no proof of imminent danger.
Threat.
I'm sorry.
If that child is in a situation where its life is being threatened,
Well, I don't
then
think
we
they would
break
send
the
a
walls
CPS
down.
I don't think they're going to send a CPS agent into a house if there's imminent danger involved. I think that there's going to be some sirens and bomb squad and all that stuff.
That's
I
where
don't
you
think
go back
so.
to
I
their
don't think
policies
so
and
either.
procedures.
But
Policies
the
and
person,
procedures says CPS then must pull back and call a law enforcement officer, which then has to have firsthand witness experience to do any of that stuff, to even enter the home. In other words, and you know what the cop has to do? Dispatch making entry, we have an emergency situation. It's recorded.
Right.
There's documentation of it.
the
So
parent that stabbed the CPS office, the CPS personnel, there's probably a lot more to that story. Because my question is, how did CPS get into the house?
Well, I'm going to tell you this. I guarantee that that father warned him multiple times and said, you better leave my place before something bad happens. And that right there tells you in castle doctrine that all systems on, dude. You don't want to listen to my warning, then you get what you get, period. End of story.
Hear that?
If the CPS person pushes the door open and walks in, he's in violation of trespass. And the homeowner can say, I was threatened for my life.
Yes, but most people have it posted on their property. Private
Most
property,
people
no
don't have that posted. Most people don't have.
All right.
Most people don't have that posted on their property, but they don't have to have it posted because it's private property.
Look who woke up Herbert. Good work, Gunner.
Listen, well, he got worked up, but we're going to answer some of these questions. One, this is why they are trained. Remember I told you about that special training seminar that comes around nationally on how to coerce and work your way in? It's slow forward movements. It's while you're distracted, they take a half step in. While you're distracted, they take another half step in. Next thing you know, they're in the door. Their foot in your doorway to where you can't close your door is entry, according to federal case law. And as soon as they have crossed that threshold, that's why I'm telling you, lock your screen door. Because that's the first lockable access. If they break that, that's breaking and entering, and that is an automatic violation of your Fourth Amendment right.
How about don't open the door and talk through the door?
You can do that just fine. You can.
Or better yet, how about if you open the door, go outside, close your door back, and then talk to them outside on your porch?
Hold on. Now, let's go into that. I'm glad you brought that up, Howard. Or Herbert, sorry.
And you can call me Hubert, I don't care.
Hubert. Listen, that depends on your state, how it defines your property, okay? And what it does under the castle. It's usually found under castle doctrine. Some believe you have a right, depending on the state, that it is your door is your castle and that's where it stops. It does not include the rest of your land or property, okay, on how it's protected under the Fourth Amendment. It can be trespassing, but it's not entry. So your state's individual rights, the state's rights get to define those things. So it's different state by state.
There's only so many states that have the castle doctrine. The states that do state that you have the right to stand your grounds.
There's also a retreat.
Every state is the same when it comes to entering a home. A person can't enter your house without permission. If they do, that's trespass.
Herbert, that's not true. There are some that under their castle doctrine is you have a retreat doctrine. Here in Tennessee, there's a no retreat. In other words, if you have an opportunity to escape, you are to utilize that first before defending your home. You got
that's New York State, that's California, there's a few other states where you can't confront the threat.
Yes. So
you can have a gun in your hand, but you cannot shoot the guy. You got to go out the back door.
There's some that say you have to be, the perpetrator has to be at least 6 to 10 foot in your home.
That's why I'm trying to tell you. Warn the perpetrator. That's it. You warn the perpetrator on your property. that you're going to shoot them if they do not comply and they do not exit immediately. Then you're allowed to use whatever force necessary to remove them.
And here's the beautiful thing: I feared for mine and my children's safety.
That's
Why? How can you justify that? He wanted at my children. He kept saying, "I want your children. I want your children," as he came in. No court order, no nothing. For I don't know this person. Well, he had a badge that said anybody can make that. He had no court order. He came at 9, 10 o'clock at night. He came at, oh, they play that game real good. Why? Because you can't get a hold of everybody. Everybody's closed.
So, and the baby girl says they went in our property, took our dogs, went to our home, took photos, thrashing their home, leaving all the doors open, no warrant in sight to be left.
And you have a huge civil rights violation right there. Because here's the thing. Your state has got, your CPS worker especially has to have a report he has to do. So he has to report whether or not he had to call in law enforcement. There was an emergency situation or this, and that all has to be documented on both sides by the police and everything else. The police officer, it's on the dispatch report. There are ways to track them down of this hearsay, this and that. You just get a subpoena and it's under discovery. I want the dispatch report for that particular day of everything that went on, especially during this officer and any transmissions back and forth. Boom, they give you a printout. They have to, by law. It's what
state did the CPS worker get stabbed so I can look up the case?
I'm trying to remember what it was. I'm sorry, Herbert. I've been so damn crazy. I'm on every state. Let me see if I can do this. Man, I'm dealing with so much right now. It's hard. It's like it gets and it goes so fast. And like I said, the family, I was just reaching and somebody reached out to me.
That's okay. That's okay. I will do a general search of any CPS worker getting stabbed in the 50 states.
Yeah.
But regardless, at the end of the day, if the family didn't want that man in there, he should have left. I mean, that's it. Because nothing tells me that a guy's just going to come darting through this house with his kids right there, start stabbing a dude just for no reason. That guy obviously said something, told the guy to leave. He probably got to his wits' end and said, fine, you MF, you think that you're going to stand in my house? Well, fuck you. Watch this.
Well, and it comes down to this. The state's going to cover its butt, so they'll probably convict you in state court. But if you appeal it,
they will, because unless he can prove he was protecting himself from deadly physical force that was being held against him, like the CPS worker had a knife or a gun,
Herbert,
and then the homeowner stabbed him.
Herbert, all you have to do in the state of Maine is warn the people that they have to leave.
Yeah.
If they do not leave with your orders, then you are allowed to use whatever force necessary to remove them from your property until you are deemed safe.
But then in court, you have to show where you were threatened for your life.
You don't have to do this and that. They wanted my children. They kept articulating the fact they were going towards my children and making a forward movement to steal my children. That is
then that's a threat. That could be considered a threat.
And I asked him to leave. He wouldn't leave. It was this and that. It was trespass. They started reaching, and this, my children were in fear for their lives.
Then you can protect your children. Take a frying pan or whatever you got. You know, a mop, a stick, and you can defend your children. Yes.
Now that's what happened.
Now, let me take and educate you all about a little bit something about a public notice. When you put a sign that is visible from the road, it's called a public notice. No trespassing, no solicitation. You quote the Castle Doctrine, everything else on there. They know before they get to your one knock at the door that they're supposed to have to do. No warrant, no nothing. Don't come knocking. And if you violate that, it was public notice that it was posted. And it's sad you have to do that. But that means Castle Doctrine's in full effect, and I know what it is. In other words, that's your way of saying, I know my Castle Doctrine. You come into my home and you ain't got a warrant, we got problems or emergency situation, and you follow your protocols. Because if not, that officer is going to have to do, why couldn't you wait for backup, or why didn't you radio in? You broke protocol. Because that's what they're going to get caught up in court in, is on their policies and procedures. Did you radio for assistance or notify dispatch there's an emergency or there's imminent danger, you're making entry. You have to announce it. That is protocol across all 50 states. You have to do that. 100%. No exceptions. If you didn't, they're going to ask, if it was such an emergency as you thought it was, why didn't you radio dispatch that you were making entry? Why didn't you this? What was it you saw that was so detrimental that on top of it, once you've made the entry, you got to have the evidence to back up what you said?
Yep.
Because once again, I'm innocent until proven guilty. Who is Sharon? That is my wife. Listen, don't piss off Mama, because you get Mama going. Trust me. She's kept it kind of quiet, but as soon as she comes off the leash, trust me, she's going to be on a lot of things real fast.
Yeah, my wife's the same way, man. She's hit her face for a long time. But, well, guys.
Yeah, God found. Yeah, Illinois. There's Sharon. Okay. Hey, babe. Glad everybody's watching. Hey, listen, guys, a lot of this is about educating and knowing, and I love this fact that we can have this open platform and discussion to really answer a lot of questions that a lot of people just have the same questions. I don't understand. I'm not clear. Well, once again, let me put that right where it belongs. This is a failure of your Department of Education, school, and public school system that you don't know this, and you should have before you graduated. You should know and understand as we'll say a citizen, on what your rights are and what to stand in real world experience and how to apply this, how to understand case law, how to understand all these things, but they don't. Instead, it's and you may hate me for it all you want, but it has nothing. You spent more time on learning your constitutional rights than your pronouns, or you dress up and feel like a cat and identify as a cat, or whatever else, and the other bullshit it is. It's all distractions than learning what you need to learn. One of the biggest things I see from homeschool is you actually get to teach those things.
I'm sorry, Gunner. I identify as a lesbian.
We'll just, I guess that would make Punisher a lesbian dinosaur. We'll call him Lick a Lot of Pussy.
I'm going to leave that alone. Hey, guys. So, Gunnar, on this show, we do last thoughts. And I think it's about that time we wrap it up. So, I guess you want to start with them?
Last thoughts is follow the plan we have. Stay on what you have. Let's work together. Let's communicate. Follow with me on TikTok, however it is. I'm trying to do the best I can with everything I can, and that's to get the information out. Share with anybody, even if it's a decade old. The idea is we come together and we take them out and we turn it within itself. This has been confirmed by constitutional attorneys, professors, everything else. It works because it subverts the system they've set up to where the first thing they know you're going to do, because you're so emotional, is talk about your family law case. And that is the one thing that will get your case thrown right out of that civil rights things. So, hey, Debbie. So my final thoughts, lock your front door, make sure everything, get you something posted out front and everything else. Educate your children about circles and who they can trust and who they can't. And understand also, I have the right to remain silent. Teach your kids. I'm not saying a word to you. Why? Because I got the right to shut up.
Yes, that's right. Herbert, last words, my man.
Learn all you can about CPS, about the system. Learn about the courts, how it works with child protective services and all. And the more education you could teach yourself, the better it is that you could stay off the system, off the radar, and not have your child being taken away.
Hell yeah. Vinny.
Well, my last words are going to be a little wonky tonight. Even though they have me gagged and I can't talk about my case, I just want everyone to know that I'm still here and I'm still speaking up and I'm still fighting this corruption no matter what. I don't care what they do to me, because in the end, I'll get them.
Hell yeah.
Vinny, I've got a new code name for you. You're the new 1970s modern version of Deep Throat.
All right, guys. Thank you, guys. Gunnar, thank you so much for taking the time to be out with us tonight. It is Friday night, guys, so watch out. CPS is coming for you. Just make sure you pay attention, lock your doors, like they say. Don't answer it because it's a long weekend and your lawyers ain't going to answer. So keep CPS out of your house. And I am the CPS Punisher. We are out of here. Have a good one, guys.
3 months ago, I got a copy of the Law Firm Growth Accelerator, and it...
Oh, and it's going to spin now, too. Perfect. Let's hear it again. There we go. All right, guys. Have a good weekend, everybody.
Well, if we're going to have an after show, I'm good to stick around for a while.
All right. I'll put the link in the, I'll send the link out.
Yeah, make sure you send it to me.
The world getting crazy, baby, chill. Don't medicate, just meditate. You waking up now, well, baby, you hella late. Educate, look at what's going on, let it resonate, accelerate. Find your inner hunger like you never ate. Agenda is to push the hate, separate and segregate. Don't celebrate quite yet, the storm is coming, Q, for heaven's sake. Violate, demonstrate, instigate and penetrate the values of our country and our God is what they desecrate. My fighters ain't no featherweight, pulling out the seams of the fabric that they fabricate. They feed us lies, manipulate, intimidate through fear and force, forcing us to sit and wait till we come together, congregate, and then we liberate. Praying that you give me strength to find some love amongst the hate. Marching on these streets of blood till I see the golden gates. Troubadour and troubled souls, one of God's servants. Blades out, cut the grass till we see the serpents.
One day I hope you see the truth. This puppet show stays on because of you fools. We've been dancing with the devil way too long. I know it's fun, but get ready to pay your dues. Oh God, come back home. This crazy world is filled with liars and abusers. We need you now before we're too far gone. I hope one day they finally see the truth. God, we need you now.
I know the truth is hard to swallow, just digest it. Suspected something's going on, but chose to just neglect it. Deflected by some breaking news, oh, we just accept it. Expected just to fall in line and follow their perspective. Don't question their objective, but I got a lot of questions. How these kids molested, but nobody's been arrested. Read it in the testament, these children are protected. So I'm fighting all these terrorists, both foreign and domestic. Refuse to be directed, lying out of sheep. Only kneel to my God, so I'm dying on my feet. Silence when we speak, but there's violence in the street. I've been rolling with the punches, I can't take it on the cheap. Drink from a glass half full, I'm optimistic. People are sadistic, so vicious and malicious. Praying for assistance to overcome opposition, or I'm gonna start resisting and then I'll pray for forgiveness.
One day I hope you see the truth. This puppet show stays on because of you.